and welcome to Labour Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week edition of the program, we will be focusing on the construction sector and the several challenges it's faced with amidst the coronavirus pandemic. We also have stories for you. We will be right back.
The National Bureau of Statistics estimated Nigeria's unemployment rate to stand at 21.7 million in 2020. Statista.com says Lagos has 19.5% unemployment rate within the same period. And the adverse socioeconomic effects of COVID-19 has also made life difficult for many Nigerians. Hence, the need for this intervention program.
Thank you very much for being here.
Our communities will receive a facelift through the activities of the participants as they will engage in various community environment-specific public works activities ranging from drainage clearing and maintenance.
With working tools, the selected 20,000 beneficiaries were drawn from the 20 local government areas of the state. Deputy Governor Obafemi Hamzat says this will reduce poverty.
This initiative will complement our effort, which are geared towards providing support and creating opportunities for young people to be productively engaged. While we appreciate the effort of the federal government through this initiative, we would like to appeal for an increase in allocation for Lagos State in consideration of the increasing population that we must cater for. We must know that in Lagos we house every Nigerian.
We distributed 30,000 forms. Out of it, we picked 20,000 qualified people. We have handicap, we have traders, we have artisans, we have some master degree holders that is going to do communal jobs within the state. And Loma is taking a very big chunk of it, that they want to train them to be more self-sustained even after the 3 months.
Some of those whose next meal is now guaranteed by this program shared their thoughts.
It's a long process, but thank God I was finally chosen. I really appreciate God for that. And we have been told a lot and the advantages in this program, and we look forward to it.
I was excited when I saw it will help people, as in to reduce hoodlums, reduce a lot of mayhem from the country.
Insecurity is believed to feed off the growing number of unemployed persons. Programs such as this will thin out the idle hands that would have gotten involved in diverse forms of crime and criminality.
According to a labor force survey by the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS), Nigeria's unemployment rate was 27% in the second quarter of 2020. This was 4 points higher than the 23% reported in the third quarter of 2018. From the survey, the unemployment rate was 29%, which is higher than the 20% recorded in the third quarter of 2018. When combined, 52% of the labor force is either without jobs or working below their potential. Abisoye Kusoko was a worker at Serve Air Nigeria Limited, Lagos. But he and 60 other workers at the company were rendered redundant just after the COVID-19 lockdown announced by the federal government in 2020.
Management are not ready. They are not ready to call back, and they are not ready to pay for their redundancy exercise. And presently, we are still on it because in a state, in a country where we have constitution and labor issue, we also have Labor Act that is guiding us. So we still, as workers, still took our ground. As management, they are not ready to listen to us. So we too are ready to follow the case to the end. I'm using this medium to call for labor organization, CLO, other labor to stand up and support us support Nigeria workers. This is our country. We cannot be in our country and become a slave in our own country. They should stand up and support and help us. It is their responsibility to fight this impunity measure, to fight this unlawful act holding by this management, this capitalist.
The research blames the rise in unemployment and underemployment rates on some factors like low level of industrialization, poor economic growth, slow implementation of national labor policy, as well as lack of coordination of labor policies at subnational level. Other workers believe that many private employers are hiding under COVID-19 pandemic to disengage staff and prioritize profit.
When there is a law that governs these labor issues, Section 20 says before you reduce your staff, you don't carry out any redundancy, you have to inform in writing to the union in that company. Where there is no union, the staff representatives that you want, they will now sit with you and discuss the number of people you are going to reduce and the remuneration. But this was not carried out. And the government, I think the government too has a large share of the blame of all this. They don't care. Because this company is registered under Corporate Affairs Commission. And they have the rules and regulations to follow. But they are not following it, and the government is turning a blind eye. Even the Ministry of Labour, that is supposed to be our guide, is in one way or the other supporting the company.
According to a report by PwC, unemployment rate could reach 28% in the third quarter of 2020 and 30% by the fourth quarter. For Abisoye and other workers who have lost their means of livelihood during the COVID-19 pandemic, they want relevant stakeholders to look for ways to ensure more jobs are created and benefits paid to those disengaged. On the Profile Interview segment this week, I will be speaking with the National President of the Construction Workers Union, Comrade Amechi Asugoni. He also doubles as the National Deputy President of the Nigerian Labour Congress. He spoke about the 774,000 jobs created by the federal government vis-a-vis the several challenges the working environment is faced with as regards casualization of workers, outsourcing and insourcing of workers. We will be right back. It's good to have you on the program.
You're welcome, Ms. Sharon.
A lot has happened in the labor sector, but let's start with your sector, which is the construction sector in the country. How would you say your union has been responding to the COVID-19 pandemic? Would you say that your members have been grossly affected with this development?
I think it has been known globally, the hazardous effect of COVID-19 existence. It has actually done more harm than innovation could repair. And in our sector today, we have suffered a huge job loss. And the job loss are categorized. You know, when people are told to stay at home with less than 30% of your salary, it's as good as considered to be unemployment. And when people are told to stay at home and they call it stood off without pay, that is to say, you are a staff of a particular company, but you're not going to be earning any money from that company, but they may call you tomorrow, and wish the tomorrow never come. So tying people's destiny to COVID-19 is a very dangerous scenario. So it has affected us as a sector, and I think part of the requirement will still be government intervention, because uneasy lies the head. The sector, don't forget, is a private-driven sector. And as such, no matter how passionate they may want to employ safety, profit will still be their priority. And in that light, they may not invest their own money aside the gauge of their profit. So it's affecting the workers, it's affecting the union. Engagement is poor because most of our engagement have to be visual, and the workers are working on site. Some of them are allowed to get to a certain point. So even meeting while on site, you cannot talk to the managing director. He may be on duty but not disposed. So there are hindrances everywhere. It's affecting dialogue, it's affecting collaboration, and it's not giving full room for central coordination as it affects workers and employer. So you find out that employers will come out with a policy and they just put it under COVID-19. And once employer use COVID now as an excuse for a particular policy, your hands are tied because most of them may be supported by government, and it will affect the ordinary constitutional right of a worker. So no doubt, it has actually sold a very strong impediment for workers.
Okay, recently it was in the news that some construction workers, when after undergoing the COVID-19 test, tested positive for COVID-19. Now you've also explained that getting to engage with the employers of labor has been more difficult because of COVID-19. What other avenue is the union looking at to ensure that employers of labor are being engaged, to ensure that decent work is being promoted?
Yes, because of the belief now that the culture that is invented, which we call the new normal, is not just theory, but is what we should practice. Because looking at COVID-19, to me as a person, I don't see COVID-19 crisis coming to an end in 2021. And therefore, there is no way you can surrender your sector to COVID-19. So long work will go on, engagement must proceed. And therefore, the union have also worked out strategies which include visual processes to engage meetings. And where physical dialogue is required, employers may request for a very mild, limited number, where 10 people normally go for negotiation. The employer will tell you because of COVID-19, they need only 3-4. But they're saving costs, in as much, even though they could have gotten a bigger hall to care for this number of people and maintain social distance, wear your nose mask, but engagement at that time become poor because some of these negotiations are not just by one speak for all. It's about individual experience. It's about who represent what sections. So when workers come together to negotiate, they speak from experience from point of operation. But where you limit the number of participants, it affects the outcome of the meetings. So we have also engaged. Should the meeting require few people to be physically present, the meeting should also provide a visual platform that will allow other people to participate, even from site. So whereby employers resist that, then it will be counted to be inappropriate, and such will be resisted as well. So for us, we believe in innovation, and that is the new way. We must engage, no excuse.
From the word you said initially, employers are trying to cut costs. And I've been able to learn from some people's experience and realize that many employers of labor do have the capacity. Some are even making more profit now, yet they are not engaging their employees adequately. Does it mean that employees have to upskill and upgrade to meet up certain requirements that might be needed in a workplace in the 21st century?
Yes, I think the advice I've been told to workers, especially in our sector, during the lockdown, and even this very period that you still have it like a semi-lockdown, because in as much the economy is not locked down, employers of labor have introduced their own pattern of lockdown in their respective locations. And as such, where you are affected, some are doing shifting. You see a set of workers work for a month, and the other people will resume thereafter. And so in all of this, workers should use their space to acquire knowledge. Because what you call idle place is also a place of study for those that are serious. So we have encouraged our members to go into study, go into acquisition, acquire more knowledge, and try to boost your skill. You learn the language of your company, especially when you work in a foreign company. You can decide to do online study with regards to areas that will give you advantage over others. And beyond that, we have also seen situations whereby employers deliberately try to undermine the work schedule in terms of proportional ratio, where a particular worker or a group of workers are meant to do a particular job. And then a work that was meant for 2 people, because of COVID, reduction of workforce has not reduced the work itself. That is a disadvantage to the workers. They work more, and most times they work over. There is now indecency in the operation of workplace, where a worker, there are overtime that are abnormal overtime. In as much you pay for it, you subject the health of a worker to early death. That is not help. There's no amount of money that can exchange life. So for us, whether COVID protocol, no matter how stringent it will look like, we should still consider the health of workers when we assign duties. So we encourage them to do studies, teach yourself what others have not taught you, so that you will be what others are not, in order to have opportunity to engage. So even though they want to call back workers, for one advantage you have, could also put you on the list. But beyond this, the employers should put people and not profit.
As a board member of the National Directorate of Employment, how would you rate the process of engaging 774,000 workers in the country?
Yes, the program for the 774,000 workers, though is meant to last for 3 months, it's an intervention public works, as the name likes. That exercise is driven to also cushion the effect of the COVID impact as well. Federal government, we commend their effort with that vision. For us, they shouldn't be stopped because it should continue. Otherwise, it will lose its taste. You know, you have given hope to people that October, November, December 2020, they will earn this 20,000 for a period of time. There are people that could earn this money and start up a very small scale business. I still believe that people could make out something from little. You know, so we don't just condemn and say, because it's 3 months, why won't you continue? I believe out of 774,000, by the time you begin this program, certain percentage, reasonable percentage of these people will eventually use that money to offset areas they were owing, use that same money to enhance areas they were in deficit, and possibly people will also use that money to start up vegetarian business. There are businesses that does not require much fund. It takes discipline, tolerance, and consistency for somebody to say, let me start somewhere. You can't blame government for you not.
On the long run, as a board member of such a sensitive government parastatal, what do you think needs to be done to address the issue of unemployment, because it was really bad, then COVID came in, and we are still battling with the pandemic?
Yes, I think the NDE is also considering, is part of their scheme and objectives, is to create training. Not just create training in this case, because we also have reviewed a situation whereby you release certain amount of money for 1,000 people and it become almost useless in their hands. Why not limit it to 400 people, and they become useful to the economy, and then set that program to come over and over. So we are beginning, in fact, we have started the scheme of reviewing the program in such a way that we don't look at the quantity now, but quality in the outcome. What would this program end to Nigeria and the contribution to the economy afterward? So now there is a plan that going forward, you train people, you train the youth, the women, you train them, you train people with peculiar view to what is marketable in that region. You end this program, what next? NDE should be able to sponsor consistent programs, which I think they have been doing, but in this case now, a more coordinated program.
Okay, finally, we are aware that casualization of workers, outsourcing of workers, insourcing of workers was the order of the day before COVID. Now COVID is here. What would be your suggestion, or what are your observations towards this development?
I think from the point of construction sector, and even speaking on authority across the country, I would say COVID-19 has imposed advanced challenge to the issue of casualization and outsourcing. It becomes easier when a system to checkmate error is made visible, and it becomes very dangerous and almost impossible to check when they continue to tell you that the way we are now, we are operating 20% work scale. And so to even talk about casual now is becoming difficult because the people that are working, the union officers, not all of them are on duty. So they are taking advantage of this COVID now to actually suffocate some of these principles that ordinarily should protect workers. I must tell you, issue of casual, in as much as we have a reduced workforce in the sector, there are still pockets of casuals that we are yet to identify. I use that word, especially this January. We just resumed about a week or so. Therefore, it's becoming difficult using electronic means to locate a site in order to identify who is a casual. Sometimes they ask these casuals to sign undertaking, not to even tell anybody that they are casuals, just to keep their jobs. So when you have situations like that, it requires physical touch. It requires physical appearance. It requires, to an extent, protests that may actually unveil the number of workers in that very place. So what we are doing now is how do we engage electronics in such a way that conversation with these workers will convince them that they are protected. Even when you reveal the secret that the employer must have put you under oath, we can still protect you. So long you have confessed what is illegal that the company have done, they have lost their integrity to even fight over you. So for us, we are putting energies in place to ensuring that we don't just monitor, but we fight to change. As a matter of fact, letters have been sent to some companies to have a meeting to review the employment status in their own organization, especially the Chinese. We sent that letter last week. We're meeting with them this week. And by the grace of God, it is during such meeting that we will request for certain documents. If you like, present a false document. So long you have given us a document, it's an evidence to commence our investigation. And if otherwise is found, then it becomes a bigger fight. And it gave us edge over the company because it means you have presented a false document. Anything contrary to it gives us edge to either start. Protests can be done in any form, even in the form of COVID. The struggle is still continue to the extent that labor can engage with nose masks. We can engage observing social distancing and still blocking to get our right to our members. So for us, whatever we must do, all we need to do, there's no law of COVID that says for this reason there shall be no certain action by the union. All they are saying is that whatever you must do, let the rule of COVID abide. No doubt.
Thank you very much for your time. Of course, a lot of engagement has to be done to ensure that workers don't pay the utmost price for the COVID-19 pandemic. And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.